It's Wednesday at 11, so you know what that means. It's time for tea and talk.
Oh, what's that?
Bitch, please.
Hello, and welcome to Tea and Talk, the podcast where I get to do two things I'm particularly passionate about. Drink some tea and just talk a lot. Today, I will be talking about my Netflix habits from the past week, as well as talking about what I'll be eating on Pancake Day. In the tea section, I'll be dishing on the massive pot that I've got with me today, and I'll be finishing off by discussing the illness that I got diagnosed with during the beginning of the pandemic. Welcome to episode 3 of Tea and Talk. I really want to know what you're thinking so far. Obviously, the first episode was just me, and the second episode included my brother. As per a poll on Instagram, I asked people to tell me whether they'd rather I do an episode on myself and my life this week, or whether they'd rather I invited another guest on. Well, it was 50-50. Y'all are useless. So today I decided it would just be me, and I would give a bit of an insight into myself and my pandemic story today. I hope that's okay. If it's not for you, that's fine. You can go and listen to other episodes or find another damn podcast. I don't know. I was so unprepared to record today because I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to sit down, get Audacity running, get my mic on, la la la, and then I listened back to some of it, and dear God, I sounded crap. I was very confused as to what had happened. I didn't really understand why it suddenly gone so wrong. And then I realised that I was not wearing my headphones, which explained an awful lot. It was so crackly and disastrous. Note to people who have podcasts: wear your headphones. It really, really helps improve the audio. How's everyone's weeks been? I'd really love to know. I have spent quite a lot of my week watching Netflix, because apparently that's all we can really do during the pandemic, let's be totally honest. I watched the first episode of Bridgerton, which has been highly recommended to me by both my friends and my sister, and literally so many people. And I really enjoyed it, and I'm worried I'm going to get addicted to it. So we'll see how that goes, because it literally, like, when people said, oh, it's like Gossip Girl, but in, you know, Jane Austen kind of times, I was like, okay, so it's just, you know, a bit gossipy, you know, a bit scandalous, la da da. But there's literally like a mysterious person narrating the show, just like Gossip Girl. And I won't lie to you, I kind of love it. I'm excited to see where that goes. Also, another thing about Bridgerton is they had people playing orchestral versions of modern songs, which I thought was really, really cool. So in the first episode I heard Thank You Next playing orchestrally, and I messaged my family saying, oh my god, I've watched the first episode of Bridgerton, and they're playing these songs that are from, you know, that are modern songs, but in an orchestral way. And my sister was like, yeah, I know, I really like trying to pick them out. But my mum said, oh, I didn't notice that at all. So I think it's a little Easter egg if anyone watches the show. So to listen out for them. Another show that I've been really enjoying this week, which isn't actually on Netflix, but whatever, is It's a Sin. It's a show created by Russell T Davies, aka the creator of New Doctor Who from 2005, and he ran the show until 2010. And it's a show about the AIDS pandemic in the 80s, particularly focusing on a small group of young gay men and their friend Jill, who basically tries to campaign for the rights of these men who have suffered with this illness. And it's a really, really lovely show with a lot of heart. It's heartbreaking, but I think it's a really important watch to be educated about it, and also quite poignant when you consider the fact that we're in a different pandemic now, and how similar the lies and the mistreatment have been in certain parts of the world. I do think that's incredibly interesting, and I'm sad that it's over, because it was something that I was watching with my mum and dad, and it was a really nice sort of all-together feel that we had, and I really enjoyed it. I like watching stuff with my parents. What else have I watched? Oh, I watched the 2020 version of Emma. And if you don't know what Emma is, it's a Jane Austen novel. Similar to Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility, if you're familiar with those, because those are her two most famous ones. and it stars Anya Taylor-Joy, who you might know from The Queen's Gambit. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I always love Austen stuff. Emma is the kind of character that you think, oh, she's meant to be nice, and that was what I thought going into it, because I'd heard of Emma and I thought, oh, she's meant to be a nice person. But she's actually like the kind of person that thinks they are nice, but actually doesn't necessarily have everyone's best interest in heart, and that was really cool to watch and explore. So yeah, I've watched probably way too much TV this week, but I have no regrets. Happy Ash Wednesday for when this comes out, unless you're not Christian, in which case, Happy Wednesday. To be clear, I'm not Christian either, but I always associate Ash Wednesday with the day after Pancake Day, and I think many, many people in the UK celebrate Pancake Day. Pancake Day is alternatively known as Shrove Tuesday in, Christianity, as in the day before Lent starts. But it's generally just an excuse to eat pancakes, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of dig that. Is anyone giving up anything for Lent this year? The thing is, even though I'm not a Christian, I have given up stuff for Lent in the past. Chocolate, alcohol, meat, various things, and it's not from any kind of religious perspective, it's just because I enjoy challenging myself with those kind of things. I have to say that the most challenging of all was alcohol, which sounds bad, but it's because it was my first year of uni, and I decided to just not drink alcohol for 40 days, when that's like the prime time for sort of social drinking, to make friends. I did it. I have to say, I did do it. I just drank a lot of squash on nights out. It was kind of fun. Tell me about your pancake toppings. I really enjoy maple syrup and bacon. Controversial, I know, because some people don't like bacon with pancakes, but I really, really enjoy it. And I'm sorry about that. Lemon and sugar is basic. Come fight me, I'm just saying. Also, Nutella is a solid one. I've been following Slimming World for reasons that I will explain later in this podcast, actually. So for that reason, we will be having oat pancakes, which honestly tastes very similar to the standard flour ones. They've got how do I say this without sounding gross? They have a chunkier texture. I know that sounds really gross, but I just mean that it's a bit more chewy, I suppose. God, this is already sounding completely grim. So I think it's about time that we move on and talk about tea. Let's talk about tea, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the things and the bad things that make tea. Let's talk about tea. Did that work? I don't know. Today, I'm drinking a mango and cream tea from T2 again. It sounds like I'm sponsored by T2. Make sure you try their teas. No spawn. I'm just a big fan. Last week I said they were a UK brand. I was wrong. They are actually an Australian brand that have branches in the UK, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I really dig their teas. I think they have a nice collection of bagged and loose leaf. And they also have some beautiful teapots, which I don't have, but I want to have. Unlike last week, I had the patience to make a loose leaf tea today. And in fact, I have a whole damn pot for you guys. So this could be a very, very slurpy episode. And I don't know, if that's what you subscribe for, then go ahead and enjoy my mouth noises. But yeah, you do you. If you want some more slurps from me, then you got some coming for you, baby. Yeah. I've drunk a lot of coffee this week because it's been there and I've been tired. I actually have this slight fear of getting a caffeine addiction because quite a few people in my life like caffeine a lot, and yeah, it's caffeine addiction is an extremely common thing. Obviously it's not particularly dangerous, but I don't want to have that reliance on it. if that makes any sense. However, I feel like I'm already going that way. Like, it's got to the point where I will need to have 3 flat whites in a day, or alternative cup of coffee if I can't get a flat white. But flat white's my fave, as I have mentioned. Yeah, I'll need to have 3 cups of coffee a day, and if I don't, then I get a horrible headache in the late afternoon. And I don't want that. It ain't fun, I've got to say. So I'd much rather just have the coffee, enjoy my drink, and keep going. I am actually drinking a lot more tea at the moment since I started this podcast, and it's not just for recording episodes. I really like having a decaf tea in the evening. Quite often my dad will offer to make one, and I'll enjoy it. But also, I like having tea after I've had my coffees. So if I've had like 3 coffees during a day, I'll make myself a decaf tea. I don't normally have caffeinated tea because, to be honest with you, I'm not up early enough for that. But I still dig it. With all the faff of me trying to get this podcast recorded well and forgetting about headphones, my tea has gone cold. That ain't the one, baby. If you want an iced tea, you make an iced tea. You don't wait for a hot tea to go cold. But this is what I'm stuck with at the moment. And that is, once again, sounding extremely first world, and I do apologise. But yes. It's still very nice, I have to say, but tea is not something I ever choose to drink cold unless I was having it icy, if that makes any sense at all. Which it probably doesn't, because this is me. Let's talk about some food for a minute. This week was obviously Valentine's Day. I didn't do much. However, I made a nice dinner for my parents, and I made some creme caramels, which is very nice. And I enjoyed doing that. I found a recipe on Slimming World, which obviously substitutes some of the sugar for sweetener, and there's no actual cream in it. It just uses milk, which you boil. And it was incredibly easy, actually. My only criticism of them is it tasted extremely eggy, and I know that they're meant to be kind of eggy because that's the whole point, but there's eggy and there's eggy, you know what I'm saying, people? So maybe it wouldn't be my first choice of dessert, but I do enjoy baking them. Yeah, if you didn't know that about me, I really enjoy baking, which is funny because my surname's Baker. I've baked quite a lot recently because we've got a lot of flour and other baking ingredients left over from when my sister and I used to bake quite regularly. And you know, I feel like a lot of people who bake can probably relate to this. When you want to bake a cake or something and you think, oh dear, I need all the ingredients, must buy all the ingredients from the supermarket, and then you get home and you're like, oh crap, I've already got everything. So then you just end up with so much flour and then so much sugar and everything. And that's kind of what we've got. We've got a lot of plain flour, self-raising, caster sugar, brown sugar, like it's a lot. And we really don't use sugar a lot in our house. I put sugar-free sweetener in my coffee, and in terms of having sweetener in drinks, that's all anyone ever does. Like, mum and dad don't have anything in it. I mentioned in the first episode, I can't stand tea or tea with sugar in it, so that's a no-no. So it's literally just there for the baking, and that's why I've been baking a bit more often recently, because mum suggested that I try and get rid of some of it, and to be fair, I'm having fun. I like baking. It's a good creative thing to do during lockdown while I can't see many people. So I've enjoyed baking, and it's got me up and moving away from my laptop a little bit. So would recommend if anyone else fancies it. Oh, what's that?
Bitch, please.
So before I start this segment, I wanted to give a little bit of a trigger warning because it will be quite heavy. I'll be discussing hospital appointments, surgery, weight gain and loss, and I think it's important that I disclose that at the beginning so no one's alarmed. Also, discussions about mental health, but that's a little bit less. But just for fair warning, if you don't want to listen to this bit, that's fine. This the last segment, apart from the thank you for watching, that will happen at the end. So you can just stop the podcast here and wait for next week, which will hopefully be a bit